welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Cancer, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October 2023. I hope you are well. I'm using the Tarot of the Abyss for you today. Before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That is link number 1 in the description box. The second link is to my private community, the Order of the Phoenix. That's over on the Circle platform. And you can get access to all of the extended content, all of it, for no extra cost, and hang out with a really extraordinary group of people. I just love the bones of them. So if that sounds like something that is of interest to you, you know what to do. So let's have a look and see what's going on with you, Cancer. Now, 3 cards for Cancer, please. Oh, there we go. There's the first one. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Camera should adjust at some point. But there it is, Queen of Pentacles. Tell me about current energy, please, for Cancer. We have the 3 of Swords, but it's the alternate vision of the 3 of Swords that Anatorians put in this deck. There's 2 of them, actually. And one's the traditional one, and this is the other one. This, I would say, is the good one. It's the one that kind of goes straight to the heart of what is a very difficult card, right? But we'll get into that in a second. Know what's coming towards Cancer, please, for October. Cancer for October. We've got the 4 of Cups in reverse. Ooh. Now, there's a particular poignance for that card where you're concerned, because it is one that has been stalking you for quite a long time. I would say probably the entire time that I've been reading tarot for you, that's been a card that's been coming up. To see it reversed, very, very strong placement. We have the King of Swords appearing at the bottom of the deck here. I promise the camera will adjust in a second. It's just the angle that the sun's coming through the window. It's not been up very long, so it's coming in sideways. So let's get some clarifiers and see what this is all about. You'll notice that there's no major arcana on the table this month, and I think that's probably a cool thing. It does suggest that whatever's going on with you this month is very internal, and that indeed seems to have been largely the case for most of the signs, actually. It doesn't mean that there aren't things going on outside of you, but it means that the focus and the impetus is very much on the internal state. And, you know, I feel like this is a month where wrinkles get ironed out for you. I think that's probably how I would put it. So let's have a look. Tell me about the Queen of Pentacles, please. That's the Queen of Pentacles here for Cancer. We have Ace of Swords. Wonderful. I like that. Oh, and the 8 of Cups. Okay, tell me about the 3 of Swords, please. We have the 8 of Swords. And we have the Chariot. Amazing. There you are, Cancer. That is a Cancer card right there. And what about this 4 of Cups? There we go. Camera's adjusted. 4 of Cups. Queen of Pentacles again. And the 7 of Swords. Right. 9 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. I feel like this is a month of resounding positivity for you, Cancer. And there aren't many signs for whom I could say that. It's been pretty challenging for most of the signs this month. There's no way of sugarcoating it, really, and that would make sense because we are in a really quite karmic time. Pluto is squaring the nodes. There's all sorts of cosmic shit going on at the moment, which is affecting us all profoundly. That said, there is a challenge here, but I think it's one that you will navigate with relative ease. There are bits of it that are challenging for you, but the degree to which you can embrace first principles, and that first principles thing is something that keeps going around in my head. There's a back to basics kind of feel about this here, and I'm put in mind of what spiritual awakenings are like, right? And even any kind of self-work whatsoever, right? We have these huge revelations initially, we're like, holy shit, we'll change our life, you know. I understand now that maybe the problem was not that I was a bad child, but that I had a narcissistic parent, and this is what put this in my mind, right? That's just an example, but there are many ways in which this could play out, right? And there's this huge kind of like reality explosion where suddenly you see things differently, and along the way you start to learn that it's very important for you to take care of yourself, and that it's not a selfish thing to do. You've just been conditioned to feel like it's selfish, all that sort of stuff, right? And then we have to adjust, and we have to live in the world again. And what felt like it should be a huge revelation that completely changed us might be so on the surface, but what's happening underneath is more of the same script running, right? And so it's like peeling away the layers of an onion. We have to go deeper and deeper and deeper and find where all of this kind of obnoxious energy, and I use that word on purpose because that's how it feels to our souls. It is obnoxious, right? Where it's situated so we can keep pulling it out, right? And the work, frankly, is never done. There's always more, and the more you can get into it, you know, the more layers of the onion that you peel away, the more of this kind of obnoxious energy and it's obnoxious in so much as it is vexatious to your soul. It is the things that stop you from living an authentic life. It's the stuff that you do on autopilot. It's the reactions that you have on autopilot, right? When you take those off autopilot and you become much more mindful in the way that you live, right, you get very accustomed to peeling away the layers of the onion. And this first principles, back to basics thing, it feels to me like somewhere, Cancer, you've kind of gone off on a bit of a side quest, and you've got distracted, possibly, by a situation, by a relationship, by a set of circumstances that have made you somewhere lose sight of first principles. Now, it could be that it's that, or it could be simply that you're approaching an aspect of you that is wounded that you have not seen up until this point. Because it's like layers of an onion, right? You're looking for the obnoxious stuff that you have spent some considerable amount of time, you know, trying not to acknowledge about yourself, or not recognizing that it is a wound or an issue of some sort of description. Right. The fact that, and I shall explain to you my reasoning for thinking this, because we've got the Queen of Pentacles showing up twice, right? Right at the beginning of this set of energies and toward the end too. But there's something bolder about the way that she's showing up here in terms of where you are going. That's coming by way of something that you did not see or did not comprehend before, which is how I'm reading these. And particularly in terms of how it has affected your identity, and by extension then the way that you, Cancer, as a soul, go out there and interact with the rest of the planet, the way that you see reality, you know, the way that you respond to all sorts of things. And it's this sense of having been slightly diverted away from, or it's felt like you've got diverted away from, the essential work at hand. Maybe you feel like you've got a bit lost in the weeds somewhere. So it's like bringing it all back. Now, I'm kind of jumping all around at the moment, and let's stop doing that. Let's take this in order. We start off with the Queen of Pentacles, and she quite clearly is the importance of self-investment. For me, she is the Queen that speaks about self-care, but the importance of investment in oneself. To some degree, she can also speak to the act of working out what that actually means. Right? So I think this is what the queens do, right? What does it mean to be, in the sense of perhaps, say, the Queen of Cups, what does it mean to be receptive? What does it mean to be forgiving and loving and all these sorts of things? Like, and to what extent do you apply that to yourself? So with the Queen of Pentacles, you know, what is it to invest in people? What does that actually mean? What does that look like for you? And in reflection, how do you invest in yourself? How do you allow others to invest in yourself? Yeah, all of these questions need thinking about and need considering if you are to take in the holistic whole of the message of the Queen of Pentacles. because, you know, we've got the question of self-care and self-investment and all of that, but there's also correspondingly looking out how we observe other people doing it or not doing it, and then the space in between where we kind of clutter up against each other, you know. It's never quite as surface as it appears, I guess is what I'm trying to say. There are wider implications. And we have the Ace of Swords and the Eight of Cups to accompany. Now, the Ace of Swords is a new way of thinking. You could speak to it as being the epiphany, right? You know, when everything just clicks into place and you see something that you did not see before. Because the sword suit talks about communication and the workings of the mind and logic and reason and rationality and all those kind of things, the Ace of Swords is a really powerful change of perspective, I think. That's how I read it, at least. One that enables you to see the things that you could not see before. So we've got the powerful revelation of self-investment, but then we've got this Eight of Cups here. Now there's a couple of different ways that you could see this. The Eight of Cups could refer to what you have allowed yourself to put down in pursuit of the investment in self. But this could also be talking about how you've kind of lost your way a little bit and been ambling around, ambling off away from there, because maybe you've got a little bit stuck in the weeds of a situation, or you know, got distracted. The way it feels intuitively to me is that you've been going through some really quite powerful revelations, in all honesty. And this is kind of where the challenge comes in a little bit. Because it's one thing to intellectually know something, it's quite another to feel it in your bones so much that you act on what that piece of information tells you. Like, I've been doing this for a while, and I've been proselytizing for a considerable amount of time now on YouTube about the importance of, for example, embracing the Tower or something like that, right? And I've been listening to astrology videos in the last couple of days for my ascendant, which is Capricorn. And hearing that, you know, my North Node is in my 4th house, South Node then correspondingly is sitting in the 10th house. I've been hearing about how this eclipse is going to see me probably turn away from what I do for a job, or I'm going to lose a job, or I'm going to, you know, there's going to be some sort of change in status, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but you're just going to have to go with it, Capricorn. And I found myself really resisting even the idea of that, even though intellectually I know that everything happens for a reason and everything's taking me where I need to go. I feel like I've been kind of clenching my jaw a little bit about the prospect of things changing here, because I don't want them to change, because I'm quite happy with where they are. Thank you very much. I'd like the ability to be able to clone myself, if I'm honest, so that I could be in 15 places at once. That would solve a lot of issues for me. However, technology is not currently available to the likes of I. So what I'm trying to draw attention to is the discrepancy between that which I know, and actually to a degree that which I have absolutely embraced in my life thus far, versus the prospect of something I don't really want to happening. Now that's causing a state of tension within me, and I don't like that very much. I also don't like I don't like the uncertainty that's involved with that, for sure. But it's this same kind of issue that I'm feeling here for you, Cancer. It's almost like, you know, all of the things that I've told you, the importance of self-care, and you've got this new mindset that absolutely embraces that. But then there has been something that has come up recently that seems to have taken you away from that. And like whether you've willingly embraced it and gone, right, I'm gonna go and do something else, or whether there's been a sense of resistance to it, because the Eight of Cups feels a little bit like it's kind of juttering around to me. It's not fully embracing going that way, and it's not fully resisting going that way, but it's like, I'm not sure that this is something that I'm comfortable with, actually. I know what I should do, but at the same time, I've got all of these things that are climbing up here, and maybe I, as a Cancer, don't actually want to do that. Now we move into your current energy. We've got the Three of Swords. Now, like I was saying right at the beginning there, that there are two differing depictions of the Three of Swords in the Tarot of the Abyss, and one is one, the like of which we all generally recognise. It doesn't have a heart with three swords through it, but there's a bird-shaped hole in a woman's breast, and she's holding a bird which is in the act of flying away. Right? It speaks to loss of some description. What I like about this version of it here is, to me, it looks like this person is reading the book of their life, right? We've got these three swords here. And everything that they've learned and experienced is here in this book. But these letters are coming off the page and they're turning into birds, and they're going back into this person's head here. I'm going to hold it a little closer so you can see it. There's something really powerful there about learning from one's mistakes, right? Recognizing patterns that are happening and preventing them from repeating themselves. Looking at where we're falling into default modes of behavior and whatnot, and kind of reanalyzing it and saying, like, how can I do things differently? I know where this goes. There's no growth for me in going this way. I need to challenge something about the way that I'm thinking or feeling about this situation that is making me feel like I don't have any options. Because the Chariot card's often about making great leaps forwards. It's a wonderful card of determination and the success that comes from the application of one's determination and will to a situation, right? I'm going forwards, that's the way that I'm going. But because this is you that we're talking about, and this is a Cancer card, I feel like this speaks more to what it is to be you. Like I said, talking to your identity, your own internal balance. This ever jostling kind of competition almost between the light and the dark sides of us. This card speaks specifically to duality. And the importance of maintaining a balance, right? Applying our will to a situation, in fact, but the will being in the balance rather than anything else. And we've got this Eight of Swords. There's something here about challenging a mindset, challenging a way of thinking about things. It's quite heavy on the swords for you this month, Cancer. And not your element, it's air element, No wands here either, which is interesting. So no active movement outside of you. This, it's dominated by passive energy, which is yours as a water sign, but also in the Pentacles too. And we've got a few of those on the table. The swords are more outward facing, but even this time it feels like their energy is being turned within to have a look at a situation that you find yourself in, because you might well feel trapped by circumstances at the moment, but the combination of these two cards together is saying there is something about the way that you are approaching this situation mentally that is causing that restriction. And it's something very profoundly linked to your experience of being you. Now, the Chariot in some ways could speak to a need to balance things out, where currently they find themselves imbalanced, and certainly with the Eight of Swords being there, that could be something. But it's interesting how the swords seem to me to be almost accompanying the cards that are coming up with them, even in here, where the Three of Swords is the dominant card on the table. And so drawing back to first principles, drawing back to what it is that you know, it's kind of like this Queen of Pentacles needs to occupy a place in you that is operative, particularly when you least want her to be. You know, when you are most resistant to the energy of the Queen of Pentacles, maybe because she's highlighting something that you don't want to do, something emotionally you don't really want to embrace. You know, that's when it's most important. I said, faith is something that I've struggled with my entire life, right? And specifically because I did not understand that the points where things were the darkest, where it was most possible to lose all hope, like that's where faith really comes into its own. It's very easy to claim to have faith when everything's going right, when there are no issues anywhere. But what is it really giving to you at that point? Very, very little. For it to be the supportive mechanism, it needs to stand with as much significance in the dark as it does in the light. And the same applies with the Queen of Pentacles, right? This first principle of I must look after myself, I must nurture myself, I must take care of myself, even when doing so leads me into a situation that I do not really want to have to deal with, right? Something that I would rather not spend my time on. And then we come to the Four of Cups in reverse. Card that speaks to me most simply of gratitude, which is really, really interesting. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that this card has kind of stalked you for the entire time that I've been on YouTube and reading tarot. And this way around, it talks about rejection. It can talk about boredom and apathy and all those kind of things, right? But it talks about rejection or rejecting, right? And our experiences on both sides of that. It talks about not taking the help that is proffered, but sometimes it talks about being in a state where no fucking help is offered. Sometimes it speaks about not wanting to ask for help because of the knowledge that, you know, you'll either get knocked back, you'll be rejected, that it means in some way that you're needy in a way that you've decided for yourself years and years before. You know, it's this kind of subconscious script that's running in the background. And it can speak to abandonment issues, which is something that comes up a lot for Cancer. So here's the thing, Cancer, right? I'm doing some of you might know, I'm doing a year-long astrology course with quite a well-known astrologer. And there was something that came up in one of the classes, it was last week, I think, where somebody was asking about Cancer and where the astrological predisposition was within the archetype of codependence. And the astrologer in question said there is none. That he didn't understand where that had come from, because there certainly was nothing that suggested it within the archetype. And that got me thinking, because if that is not the pure state of Cancer, and I talk a lot, I have spoken a lot, many, many times over the course of several years now, about a certain predisposition towards codependency, abandonment issues, all those kind of things. If there is nothing inherently within that archetype that speaks to a predisposition of that, then in my mind, the corollary of that is almost that every single Cancer that is arriving on this planet and has arrived on this planet for the last, I don't know, 70, 80 years, I don't know how old any of you are, right? But for example, is in a state of extreme trauma. I've been kind of rolling this around, like since he mentioned it, such that they are expressing a set of characteristics that do not belong to them. Now, you might say that was true of all signs, right, in some way or another. But I see it. I know quite a few Cancers. I see it day to day. I have seen it for years. And almost uniformly, they all have the same issue. This is the first time that a particular sign has struck me as being so traumatized that from day one, they're not in alignment with their archetype. Significantly, profoundly, en masse, collectively. And if that is true, then there's a whole new level of importance that is presented to you in fixing this on behalf of the collective unconscious, you know? I actually think Cancer is one of the most complex signs in the zodiac. And all of the signs are incredibly complex in their own ways, right? But when we talk about complex signs, we're quite often talking about fucking Scorpio, right? They're complex as fuck. Well, Scorpio's a really good archetype for that, right? Like, complex as fuck. It's a bit obvious, though. There's a certain enigmatic quality about Cancer that I find that certainly a lot of tarot readers and a lot of astrologers seem to have difficulty grasping with, to the extent that for a lot of them it seems to me that the designation for Cancer is simply not Scorpio or not Pisces, right? Water, but not either of those. And you've got this interesting quality of being in plain sight, but also completely hidden. And I wonder if that is something that, until you get to grips with, Cancer, is going to continue to be the perception from the rest of the zodiac. Right? Scorpio hides, they're in the darkness, they're in the shadows all the time. You know, Pisces kind of swimming around in the light and doing what they do. Being all ethereal and ephemeral and all that kind of thing. And then there's Cancer sitting in the middle. It's kind of like the grounding point, the pivot point between the two. Even though that should be kind of Scorpio's job, because Scorpio is the fixed sign, so Scorpio is carrying the element through. But it always feels to me that Cancer is sitting in the middle of that. Like I said, in plain sight and yet completely enigmatic. Sorry, I'm going off on a whole stream of consciousness here. That's really significant because it speaks to a feeling of gratitude for all sorts of things. It could be a gratitude for the experiences that you're having, a gratitude for just the state of being you and starting to understand yourself in a way that you did not before. But I'm feeling such a big energy of embracing yourself this month, Cancer, by way of almost having to go back to the book of your life and be like, oh, hang on, right? What have I missed here? What have I intellectually understood but I'm not putting into practice here? Where does it feel uncomfortable for me to put it into practice? And what is the reason for it? Right? There's that investigative kind of energy about it. Where am I out of balance? Where am I out of alignment? What have I missed? And it's not information about other people. It's the application of the energy of the Queen of Pentacles to you, no matter what is going on, right? Again, easy to look after yourself when everything's going really, really well. But when days are really shit and you can't be asked to get out of bed, but you have to get out of bed, and then you just don't want to do anything. You don't want to do, being human today, and yet you still have to do it. The card that hasn't come out here and that I feel really strongly is a card that's been coming out for all of the signs, and that's the Two of Pentacles. It's the rather performative action of coping, right? But the performative action is almost happening within your own mind. So consciously, you're like, I'm coping, I'm fine. Subconsciously, you're in a state of, And somewhere along the line, it's really difficult for you to remember that all you need to do is just keep investing in yourself until October. Whereupon, it seems to be coming back into your consciousness. You know, we've got the Queen of Pentacles here and the Seven of Swords. Now, Seven of Swords has dual meanings. I mean, all of the cards have at least two meanings, right? But most of them have a shed load. And we sometimes call this the Thief card, right? It's a card of dishonesty and deception, sometimes. And the way that I read it most often is the ways in which we lie to ourselves about stuff, right? So you could say it's how you lie to yourself about the fact that you're actually really happy in the life that you've got, and the reality is that you think it sucks and you hate it. I actually don't think that applies here in this case, because I feel like the Seven of Swords is actually talking more about being bold, about taking risks, about getting out there and doing a thing that you might not have done before. Like it's almost like previous versions of you would have got stuck in your own head, and you kind of got stuck in your own head here. But there's a bursting out that's going on this month for you, where you're like, no, fuck it, I'm going to show up thoroughly as I am, and I'm maybe not quite enjoying the situations that I'm finding myself in, and maybe I am subconsciously resisting or emotionally resisting the kind of movement that the universe seems to want to be bringing forwards for me. But fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, I would love to call this reading fuck it, I'm going to do it anyway, but that's not going to happen, because the AI bots that scour YouTube would get very, very upset. So tell me about this Queen of Pentacles again. Oh Lord, look at that, we've got the Ace of Swords again. It feels like it's hitting you like a truck this month, Cancer. And what's hitting you is that you've kind of missed the target when it comes to the investment in self. So it's like you did it for a bit, and then, that changed your whole mindset. And you're like, this is an important thing. This is something that I have to do. And then you just got maybe kind of dragged into the weeds with stuff. And in your mind, you're like, yeah, well, I look after myself, I take care of myself, I know that these things are very important, but the actual application of it, like I said at the beginning, the thing that's missing here is the wands. There isn't a single wand on the table. There isn't a single reflecting, a card that is reflecting the energy of doing here on the table. That, for me, seems really significant. And maybe it's because, we've had a lot of planets in retrograde, Mercury included, although by the time you see this, likelihood is it will not only have stationed direct, but also be out of post-retrograde shadow, which is a nice thing. It's like things have been foggy and things have been stuck. And returning to first principles of, that's important, but also where is it showing up in my life and how am I doing it? October actually sees you, I think, making a series of extremely bold moves that you might not have, you certainly wouldn't have made before, actually. That are all predicated on the foundation of, I need to take care of myself, I need to invest in myself. But it feels like it's expansion more than anything else. It's not like, oh God, everything's really, really dreadful, I need to take care of myself. There could have been an aspect of that. There's almost something transcendental about the way that you're approaching this, in so much as literally transcending the material environment that you're in and the difficulties and the struggles of the material environment. It's almost like recognizing where you are standing in the way of something and going, well, fuck, I'm going to stop that then, because that's really daft. And everything changing as a result. Now, I spoke about abandonment issues and all the things that could be representative of a traumatized version of an archetype that keeps being incarnated in this planet, and the resulting pattern of behaviors that come from that I see all the time when I meet Cancers out and about. If you are truly drawing this into yourself to the extent that you are ready to start expanding, and you are ready to start making some really bold moves, taking some risks, then you're absolutely shattering these predispositions that seem to have been baked into the Cancerian DNA. We have the King of Swords and the Nine of Pentacles here. Now, if the Devil card represents codependence, and he does, in amongst other things, which some of you will recall, I have at times over the last 4 years said that for me, in regards to the energy of the Devil being that, the Nine of Pentacles is the other side of the spectrum. It's the counterpoint to that kind of energy, right? And we know that the Devil is a reflection of the Lovers and all that kind of thing, right? They're all facing off each other and stuff. But in terms of the work that we do here on this material plane, where you have the Devil sapping all of your energy because you're giving it away, and then you're feeling trapped and you're stuck in codependent situations, right? Because of the mindset that you've got, giving all of your power away. Like, the remedy to that, the antidote to that, almost by necessity, is going to appear to be a minor arcana card. Because for you to be minor arcana being the things that you do in the day-to-day, for you to be fixing yourself, these aren't big universal energies that are happening at you, right? Because that's what the major arcana is, and it's requiring some sort of response in some sort of way from you, right? It's going to be a minor arcana card. Here's how I show up differently. Here's how I manage my resources. What I'm not doing is giving my resources away to trauma, to codependency, to all of these other things that have plagued me my entire life. Instead, I am going to be strong, independent, self-sufficient. I'm going to stand in who I am. And I'm going to be grateful for everything that has come thus far that has taught me that. I've got the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck, which speaks to decision-making processes, certainly, but where you exercise your decision-making process, your decision-making faculties, right? It talks to making a decision, the process of making a decision, standing from a place of integrity and making decisions. October looks in some ways to be pretty fucking lit for you, Cancer, because the things that are holding you back, they're all written in your book. And returning to first principles means you spot what they are, you see the mistake that you've made, and you fix it. You expand as a result. This is really, really interesting, Cancer. It is by far and away the most positive reading that's come out for October. It's a kind of shonky month for it. Well, there's a lot of growth. Let's put it that way, right? Euphemistically speaking, there's a lot of growth for everyone. But of all the signs that I've read for so far, you seem to be the one who has all the stuff right there, and you just go, oh, that's what it is. Put it back there. Now I can do the thing. Just getting the fuck out of your own way, Cancer. Right, I've burbled on for quite long enough. I'm going to go over to the extended now. So if you'd like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. If not, no shade, not a problem. I don't really have anything to tell you here. Like, you know all of the things, Cancer. You just need to remember that you know all the things and then apply them. It's as simple as that. Queen of Pentacles twice. Invest in self. Manage self. Manage own resources. It's all there for you, you know? All right, I'm going to leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much. And I'll see you soon.